Imagine a world plunged into chaos, where the sky turns dark, mountains tremble, and the sea roars in defiance. A world where peace is not just rare, it's gone. Sound a bit dramatic? Well, according to the book of Revelation, that's only the beginning. Let's unravel what's in store for the final 7 years, those last 7 years that so many fear but few understand. And before we start, here's a word of warning straight from the start of Revelation. Blessed is the one who reads aloud the words of this prophecy, and blessed are those who hear it and take to heart what is written in it, because the time is near. That's Revelation chapter 1, verse 3. But take that blessing seriously, because as we'll see, the next 7 years promise one wild, challenging, intense ride. Keep watching, and you'll understand why these years are unlike anything humanity has ever witnessed. Chapter 1. The Covenant that Changes Everything. Our journey begins with a mysterious but powerful agreement, a treaty like none other. This pivotal covenant, referenced in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, sets the stage for the final 7 years. He will confirm a covenant with many for 1/7. In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. A historic treaty is established between Israel and a global power, symbolizing a peace that will deceive the entire world. Why? Because it's a false peace. For a moment, it may look like humanity has achieved what it's been searching for: unity, progress, and peace in the Middle East. Leaders worldwide celebrate it as a new era. But as 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3 warns, while people are saying peace and safety, destruction will come on them suddenly, as labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. This peace treaty only masks the storm about to erupt, and when it does, humanity is caught completely off guard. Chapter 2. The Four Horsemen, Harbingers of Doom. Then, Revelation introduces us to the infamous Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Picture 4 riders, each symbolizing a different wave of catastrophe sweeping across the earth. They aren't just here to disturb the peace, they're here to dismantle it. The first horseman arrives on a white horse, symbolizing conquest. He holds a bow, symbolizing strength, but curiously, no arrows. This figure represents deception and false peace. Revelation chapter 6 verse 2 describes him as a conqueror bent on conquest, but he doesn't come with open force. Instead, he brings a clever and enticing illusion, seducing people into a false sense of security. His influence spreads quietly, and before humanity realizes, they're under his control. The second horseman arrives on a red horse, signifying bloodshed and war. He brings with him the power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. Revelation chapter 6, verse 4. And this isn't just war between nations, it's internal conflict, brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor. Humanity is driven to chaos, overcome by violence and hostility at every level. This is war in its most horrifying, uncontainable form. The third horseman rides in on a black horse carrying a pair of scales. He symbolizes famine, scarcity, and economic collapse. His impact is devastating. Resources dwindle, basic necessities become unattainable, and people can barely afford food. Revelation chapter 6 verse 6 says, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not damage the oil and the wine." With famine in full force, the cost of living skyrockets. Families starve, communities collapse, and food becomes the new currency. Then comes the fourth horseman on a pale, sickly-looking horse. His name is Death, and Hades follows closely behind. Given power over a fourth of the earth, he brings mass death through sword, famine, plague, and wild beasts. Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. Think of every kind of natural disaster, every form of suffering. It all descends upon humanity at once. The world has never seen this level of destruction before, and it's only the beginning. Chapter 3. The unsealing of the scrolls and the blasts of the trumpets. If the horsemen haven't shaken humanity to its core, the next phase begins with the opening of 7 seals, each bringing new terror. These seals are the beginning of God's direct judgment on a world that has turned its back on Him. As the seals break, the first 4 trumpets sound off, unleashing a new round of catastrophes. Imagine ecological devastation on an unimaginable scale. 1/3 of the earth scorched by fire, seas turning red with blood, rivers poisoned, and crops decimated. Revelation chapter 8 verse 7 describes it vividly. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. 1/3 of the earth was burned up, 1/3 of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. Forests burn, wildlife dies, and food sources disappear in the blink of an eye. Then an unimaginable darkness falls. The 4th trumpet sounds, and 1/3 of the day was without light, and also 1/3 of the night. Revelation chapter 8 verse 12. The sun, moon, and stars are struck, and the world falls into a state of physical and spiritual darkness. For those witnessing this, it's an inescapable reminder that the end is near. Chapter 4. The rise of the beast and the mark of loyalty. At the halfway mark of the 7 years, a new and terrifying figure steps into power. Known as the Beast or the Antichrist, he consolidates control, wielding unprecedented authority over nations, economies, and lives. This is not just a political leader. He is a figure of extraordinary charisma and influence, promising solutions to the world's crises and demanding unwavering allegiance. But there's a catch. The beast requires all who follow him to take the infamous mark of the beast. Revelation chapter 13 verse 16 to 17 warns us, "It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark." Imagine being unable to work, eat, or live freely unless you submit to his rule. This mark is not just about loyalty, it's a declaration of rebellion against God, aligning oneself with a leader of unspeakable evil. Chapter 5. The Plagues and Wrath Unleashed. As the end draws near, God's wrath intensifies. Plagues descend upon the earth, each one targeting those who have taken the mark of the beast. Boils cover people's bodies, the sea turns to blood, and rivers become undrinkable. Revelation chapter 16 verse 2 describes it. The first angel poured out his bowl on the land, and ugly, festering sores broke out on the people who had the mark of the beast and worshipped its image. Each plague is more devastating than the last. People cry out in agony, but there's no relief. These plagues show that no one escapes judgment. Every heart that has aligned with the beast faces the full force of divine punishment. Chapter 6. The Fall of Babylon the Great. As these last days progress, Revelation introduces us to a city, Babylon the Great. Babylon represents the epitome of human pride, corruption, and godlessness. It's a symbol of a world consumed by wealth, luxury, and immorality. Yet, in one swift hour, Babylon's downfall is complete. Revelation chapter 18 verse 10 recounts the destruction. "Woe, woe to you, great city, you mighty city of Babylon! In 1 hour your doom has come." Everything humanity built for security and pleasure collapses, leaving people around the world devastated. Kings, merchants, and travelers stand in shock as the city, and all it represents, falls in flames. Those who placed their trust in wealth and power now find themselves empty-handed, realizing too late that their foundation was built on sand. Chapter 7. The Final Battle and the new kingdom. Finally, the stage is set for the ultimate confrontation, the Battle of Armageddon. All forces of evil gather, believing they can overthrow divine power, but their confidence is no match for what comes next. Revelation chapter 19 verse 11 describes the return of Jesus Christ. I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Faithful and True. This is no meek arrival, it's a triumphant return. Jesus comes to end evil's reign once and for all. The armies of heaven follow, and in a single moment the forces of darkness are crushed. The long battle between good and evil finally reaches its climax. Then, in an astonishing twist, Revelation describes a new heaven and a new earth, a world without sorrow, without death, and without fear. Revelation chapter 21 verse 4 paints this final promise. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. So, why does Revelation give us this roadmap? To prepare, to awaken, and to remind us of a truth often forgotten. These 7 years are a call to turn from what's temporary and fix our eyes on what's eternal. Because as intense, terrifying, and unbelievable as this may sound, Revelation tells us that hope prevails in the end. But for those caught unaware, well, let's just say these 7 years will be the hardest road they'll ever walk.